The layout program is an automatic program that is installed when you install SketchUp. It is a type of page layout software used to present SketchUp drawings. There are two ways to open the layout program. The first way is from a SketchUp file. You open a file, click on the Send to Layout command icon, and it will send this file over to Layout. That's the first method. The second, more standard way, is to click on the icon first, activate it by clicking here. The layout program will then open. First of all, when you open the layout program like this, my interface might look a bit different because I've already arranged everything to my liking. You go to the File menu, select Insert, and find the SketchUp file you want to present. Immediately, the nearest view you see, basically the last view in that file, will be inserted here, and it will display like this. The first step is to set the scale for it. There are two ways to set the scale. The first way, this is called a viewport. When you click on the SketchUp viewport, you'll see a blue border like this. It lets you know that you can interact with it. So when you click on it, right-click and then choose the Scale command from the right-click menu. You can then select the scale you want to present. For example, I think I'll try presenting it at a 1:50 scale. After that, you'll see that the image gets cropped. There's this button here, you click and drag it out, stretch it out, and it'll look like this. Like this, yeah. So in my opinion, if you present this at a 1:50 scale, isn't it a bit too big? It goes beyond the edge of the paper, so we'll present it at a different scale. I'll try right-clicking here and choose the 1:75 scale. As you can see, there isn't a 1:75 option, so we'll have to add that scale ourselves. You'll go into the Document Setup section, go to the Custom Setup of Layout. For the older version, you go to Edit. In the new version, you go to Window. Go to the Preferences section, then look for the Scale part. Click here. In the Paper section, enter 1. Select the unit as millimeters. In the Model section, enter 75 for me, and also choose millimeters as the unit. Then click the Add Custom Scale button. Click on it. It will appear here. Since I already have it, it's duplicated here. Right, after that cut scale, you close it, and now when you select the SketchUp viewport, right-click, you'll see the 1:75 scale appear here. Click on it and select it. Once we've set the correct scale like that, we can use the 4 buttons on each side to crop the image, trimming it down so it zooms in closer. Next, when we crop, sometimes you might encounter a few issues like this. You insert a SketchUp file into here, for example. The viewport section is controlled in the SketchUp model panel. Now, let's take a look at this SketchUp model panel. This is a default SketchUp model, like this. Notice here, the first part tells us which view we're currently selecting. It belongs to the file called borhoc03.xkb. In this first bar, we have a button to update this file. That means if there are any changes made to the file, you can press this button to update it. Next, it gives us a link. This button allows us to change the link. For example, if the file has been lost, or if we want to change this view to another file, such as option 2 or option 3, we can use this link to switch to a different file. Below, we have a total of 5 sections. The first section is the viewport section. The viewport is the viewing frame, which is what controls the view we're looking at here. The second section is the camera section, which lets us adjust different types of cameras. Next is the effects section. Then comes the style section. And finally, the tag section. Can you see the tag here? The important thing here is this tag. In the viewport section, we can have a list to select the viewport in our show file. If our show file has additional scenes, they will appear here. For example, here we add a new scene. Let's say I rotate the 3D view like this, at this 3D angle. Then I create a new scene like this, and it's called Scene 2. Then I save this part, File, Save it. After that, we go over to the layout, we select this viewport, we click the update button here. You won't see any change, right? But when you click this button here, you'll see Scene 2 appear here. And when you select Scene 2 like this, it switches to Scene 2. And vice versa. If you select Scene 1, it switches back to Scene 1. So first we have the Scene section, so we can switch between scenes. We can also choose Scene 2 here. It's exactly the same. Next is the line scale section. Line scale has 2 parts, the number of points here and a list with the word auto here. There's also a list by zoom factor. So what is line scale here? Line scale is the size of these lines. The size of these lines, and before talking about the size of these lines, I'll go down to the pre-select section. Then I'll illustrate this size. Here's a very important point that everyone must understand when working with this layout. In the layout, when you have a viewport, there are 3 display modes. You can click here to see them. There are 3 modes: First, the default is raster. Second, it's vector. When you use vector, you can zoom in. You can see that the lines are extremely sharp. They are vector lines, and at the same time, the image, it disappears, but the details are very sharp, but the image disappears. Meanwhile, raster mode has an image, but it looks blurry, very blurry. The details are all broken. Next, we have another mode, the hybrid mode. Hybrid means fly. As you can hear, the general term is gasoline electric engine, so it's hybrid. It means a line between the two, half gasoline and half electric. This is half raster and half vector, meaning it's both image and vector. The first time you click on it on your computer screen, a warning will appear saying, "This is heavy, be careful." It says something like that. When you switch to that mode, you'll see that you have both image and sharp details. This mode is arguably the best. Everything is sharp, but there are still images. There are 3 modes in the layout, but usually we default to using raster to keep things light because this is a simple file. But complex files, like files with many details, don't worry, there are only a few details here. It's very fast and efficient, but the files you use for 3D rendering will be heavy when you choose this hybrid option. It will spin around for a while before the image appears, but you'll still see it and say, "Kong, why is it so blurry?" The layout file is blurry. Imagine this, the blurry background and other blurry areas are influenced by the display quality. Remember, when working in layout software like this, you're still working on it. It's not finished yet. Only when it's finished can you say whether it's blurry or not. Right now, the layout software maintains a certain quality level to make things easier. If it always maintained the final quality, like a perfectly sharp rendered image, it would be very heavy. That's why it's blurry like this. Of course, you can adjust it to be a little sharper, or if your computer is too heavy or too weak, it can't handle high-resolution images, then you can make them smaller. Can we get more? Well, all of that is governed here, everyone. Everyone go to Windows. I'll repeat, if it's an older layout version, go to the File menu, but here in Windows, go to the Document Setup section. This is where all the settings for this file are concentrated. The Reference section concentrates all the layout software settings. Document Setup concentrates all the settings for this layout file only. In this section, first you'll go to the Rendering section. This includes 2 main sections, Display Resolution, which is the display resolution, what we see on the screen, and Output Resolution, which is the output resolution, meaning everything we will output. These 2 sections will control the quality. So now we see this blurriness. Why? Because this viewport is currently set to medium quality, that's why the image quality looks like this. Now let me try switching to low, yeah? Low quality, even lower. Now it's completely blurry. You can't see anything anymore because the image has been reduced to a low resolution version, and at the same time the image size is smaller as well. As a result, your computer will run more smoothly, but in return the image quality will be very poor and blurry, as I mentioned earlier. This is not the final quality, this is just while you're working. Now, let's continue adjusting a few more settings. I'll switch it back to high quality. You can see it's sharper now, but it's still not really that sharp. This high is just for working purposes. I recommend when working for the viewport and both image sections, this viewport refers to SU and images, the line below, refers to the images you'll use, set both to medium quality. Because when working, you don't need everything to be super sharp. There's no need for it to be too crisp. This part is important, output resolution. For the viewport, it's set to 2, and for images, it's also 2. Basically, these are the default settings for this layout, and you should just leave them as they are. Now, I'll export this. The image is still blurry, right? Now I'll go through the steps, File, Export. Now I'll export to OD, and I'll choose the PDF format. I'll export this as 01 and save it. Next, I'll select the page. Here I only have 1 page, so whether I choose 01 or all, it's the same. Down here, untick the option Use JPEG compression for images, which means we won't compress the image quality at all. If you want to compress the image, tick this box to compress it, but if not, just leave it unticked for the highest image quality, then export. Once that's done, go back into Window, Document Setup, so you can see. Here we have another option, Output Override, which means overwrite the export path. And in brackets it says, for raster render viewport only, meaning this overwrite only applies to viewports that are set to raster. So, what does that mean? This one is currently raster, everyone. Now click here and select Hybrid for me. After clicking here, I'll export again, but this time I'll save it as file number 2. Export, still on high, save. Just like before, and export. This time you'll notice it takes a bit longer to export than before. So with this export method, the image is extremely sharp. The resolution is up to 600 dpi. Moving to line scale, this controls the sharpness of these general lines. It's at 0.5 now. Try a small value like 0.1. You'll see that this line becomes thinner. It's rendering again now. This line is much sharper, see? And it takes longer to render. But every time you change the line like that, it starts rendering. I recommend setting it to 0.4 and 5. Why? These are standard visible lines in architectural drawings with medium weight per local and international standards. We use a set of numbers called 124. This refers to dimension lines and annotations. For example, if I draw a dimension line from here to here, we set its thickness to 0.2. This makes it half as strong, so no one confuses visible lines with dimension lines, which are always 0.2. The dimension line and this line are offset from each other. That's why everyone should adjust this viewpoint to 0.4 or set it to the default 0.5. As for the auto part, that's the dashed line spacing. I find that the auto setting doesn't look nice, so everyone should set it to 1 times. The dashed line will look better that way. There are 2 things you should adjust at the start. Set the viewpoint to the default 0.5, don't change it, and set the auto to 1 times. That's the light scale section. For the camera section, pay attention to this part for me, the preserve scale button. When the preserve scale button is clicked, it means that when you click this button and drag, you're just cropping the view. But if this button isn't clicked, then when you drag, it stretches and zooms in. The more you drag, the bigger it gets. Can you see that? And the scale changes. The scale becomes 1:49. That means when the preserve scale button is not clicked, all the grips around here become buttons for zooming in and out. But when you tick it, it turns into cropping. Once you have chosen a specific scale, for example 1.75, you should tick preserve scale. Take note, if you drag and it gets bigger or smaller, it is because of this button. The camera section is where you can select default views like top or bottom view. As for the auto option, it is used to toggle perspective mode or auto, which is the protractor icon. But I also recommend not touching it because we use the camera on this side. Once you are in layout, you should not adjust it anymore, unless, when you intervene, a reset button will appear. In layout, there is a feature where if you intervene in a viewport, a reset button will appear right where you made the change. At the same time, a reset all button will appear at the top, allowing you to reset everything below with a single click. Here, you just need to click reset in the camera section to revert it, and the reset all button will disappear. Sometimes a viewport does not seem to listen to you. For example, you might wonder why you have done something in SU, but layout does not update. It is because this viewport has already been individually adjusted, and the reset button will appear. Remember, if your view has the reset button showing, it means that view has been modified. If you want to synchronize it with what you're doing in SU, you need to press the reset button to return it to its original state. That's the camera section. Next, the effects section allows you to turn shadows on and off here. Even if you have shadows enabled in SU, you can still turn them off like this. As soon as you turn off the shadow, the reset button appears here immediately, and at the same time, the reset button appears up here as well. Just click it to revert. Going back to the camera section, let me mention something special. When you double click in the middle of this viewport, you can rotate, zoom, and hold the mouse to rotate. Or you can right click for a few commands like zoom extents and camera tool for orbiting, rotating, etc. So, what is this situation for? Try this. To present an extra floor plan without returning to SU, just copy it out. This keeps the SU original. Over here, make a 3D illustrative plan. Copy it, double click, then right click to orbit and rotate. Now you've another illustration without creating a new SU view. Just use layout. Skip the effect section if it's not needed. The style section works similarly. You can change styles here even if already set in SU. Switch back and use the reset button to undo changes. But look at this background button, everyone. In SU, the background colour here is a bit greyish, whereas the paper background's a bit white, so it stands out, doesn't it? Now let's turn off this background. Click on background, turn background off, and the background disappears, yeah? Now it's just white. Now on to the tag section. So how do we control these lines independently? We have to use tags, everyone. Right click and wait. Now how do we make the furniture fade out? We need to assign a tag. Let's switch over to SU now. I'll select all these furniture items first. First, I'll create a tag and name it. You can use auto tag here. Name the tag furniture, yeah? My advice to you is you can name the layer whatever you like in Vietnamese or English, but don't use accents. Accents can easily cause errors. If you want to name it Vat Dung furniture, just write it without accents, like Vat Dung. Don't put the accents in, because later when you export files and so on, it can cause layer errors and it won't recognize it. Hit enter to create the furniture layer. Now I'll select the furniture and assign it by clicking here. There, it's assigned. To make it easier to distinguish, I'll turn off the eye icon to hide the layer. That way I know what's been assigned. Click here and it's assigned. Once I've finished assigning the furniture, for this person here, I'll assign them to a person layer. I'll create another layer called person. Assign the person to that layer and turn the person off as well. Then turn the furniture back on to check. As for the plants, I'll just put them in the furniture layer as well, or create a layer called plants. Assign the plants to the plants layer, then turn the plants off to check. So now we've finished assigning layers. Before moving on to adjusting line colours in layout, I want to mention an important bit of knowledge you need to grasp. I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. When you adjust the lines, you'll notice some lines don't change as you want. Why is that, even though you've got the right layer but can't adjust it? It's because SketchUp has a nested group structure. For example, you can see this car here, or these trees are mine. Actually, inside here there's already a layer called X Medium. This is that layer, everyone. If I turn off the layer, you'll see it disappears. See that? So in my library, I've added an outline to a layer called X Medium. Can you see that? If I turn it on and off, it disappears. Or when you enable the color by tag mode, this X medium is actually controlling the outline around it. So when you go over to layout, you'll see you can adjust the object's outline. But why doesn't it change? It's because there's the X outline. Medium is on the inside. This outline here, the outline going in, the one I'm selecting right now, this one, it's actually the X medium. Can you all see this bit here? It's currently the outline again. It's this layer. Even though its parent is the object, the inner outline is X medium. So this X medium one has higher priority because it's the innermost one. The innermost layer always takes precedence over the parent. Only when the innermost one is untagged or not tagged will it follow the parent. But if the child has its own tag, it will always follow the child's tag. That's the important point to keep in mind. Now let's move on to the layout. But before we move on to the layout, what do you all need to do? Everyone needs to save the file first, alright? Save it now. I've just finished saving the file. Now let's switch over to the layout software. Right, now to update the things you've just added tags to, you need to update this file. So here's the second way to update a file. Instead of selecting this viewport, you look for this tray, click that button, and all you need to do is right click and select the command Update Model Reference, which means updating the reference model, yeah? Click on it. After it finishes rendering, it disappears. We're now ready with the layers. At this point, you'll see the layer panel appear. The layers are for objects, people, and trees here. These are the 3 new layers we've just added. Now here's how we can edit them. Let's try editing the objects layer first, alright? For the objects layer, I'll change its color by selecting the viewport I want to affect, this one here. Then I go into the tag panel, drop it down, and pay attention. When I start editing, the reset button here will light up straight away. Now click this button. For objects here, click on the word default, click here, and this panel will appear. Once this panel appears, it gives you something called dashes, which is the line style, what kind of line it is. A solid line, yeah, and color. Here I'll adjust the transparency here, light grey, pale grey. If needed, adjust the transparency down like this to 67%, like this. Now for the light scale, you can adjust the size here, but leaving it on auto is fine. See, the line changes. Now if you want the line to be bolder, you can adjust it again, click here, auto, leave it on auto. Here, if you set it to 0.02, that's equivalent to a dim line. There, that's fine, done. Actually, the warning about X medium doesn't happen like it does with X dash, and do you know why? The X medium isn't adjusted separately, so it can't override anything, alright? But as for the X dash, its line style's unique. It doesn't follow the general line style. It automatically overrides the external attribute. So now I need to adjust the X dash as well, alright? Now let's continue working on this X dash, and I'll adjust the X medium so that the outline thickness of these objects here becomes thicker. Alright everyone. As for the thickness you see in here, this thick line is just the default thickness of the visual style. That's its profile. But now, if I want to adjust the outline of X medium like I did before, I'll have to tweak it separately. So let's do it now. I'll select the viewport. First, I'll adjust the dash line, which is currently too bold and doesn't look nice. I'll modify my library. These dash lines here are on a layer called X dash. Here I have a layer like this, a layer named X, this one here, X dash. X stands for edge, dash means dash line. Click here, turn it on and off, you can see it toggling. So now when I go to the layout, I'll need to adjust this layer. Right, let's switch to the layout and adjust the layer with the tag X dash. For example, click on S dash here, click here, and I'll keep it as net disk. Here I'll set it to grey like this. Click, for example, enter the number 7575, press enter, then drag and drop this down here to save it, so I can always use the colour I've set. That's why I just need to click and drag, click here to quickly select this colour. The line weight is 0.2 point, OK. Now this S dash is bold and looks really nice like this. That's the net disk part. Next I'll do the part 1 mentioned earlier, which is the netball section. Netball here means add medium, so I'll look for the X layer. Select medium here. To change a line type, select it first, drag this in. I'll set the weight to 2 points. Actually, that's too much. Let's try 1. Even 1 is thick, so 0.5 is better. That's twice the bold line's thickness. Perfect. Now next, if I want to apply this to the one next to it, what should I do? Surely I don't have to sit here and select this one. Its line's still looking a bit off, isn't it? The line is still too bold. It's still not quite right. Now surely I don't have to go and change each layer one by one like that. Oh no, we don't do it like that here. We'll press the B key. The B key is this button here. We'll pick up the properties from this view and then paint those properties onto this view. Just paint them on. There you go, you can see it changes instantly. It changes according to those properties. And when you click here, you'll see that the tag panel updates automatically, right? That's how we can pick up properties. Now, we're going to have a bit of an issue, everyone. Here, have a look at this. It's got this problem, see? This line is overlapping the other line that hasn't been adjusted. You shouldn't use this method for walls. Instead, you need to use a section cut. Here's how to handle it. Raise it up a bit like this, and then place a section cut through the wall. The section cut always has the highest priority in SketchUp, remember. Place the section cut here, then drag it down. Drag it down as much as you want, say to lower it back to 600. At this point, your scene will have the section cut activated. Activate the section cut here, active cut, then turn this off, and don't forget to update and save it into the style, okay? Because this style currently doesn't have the section cut enabled. For this minimalist min-like tab, go into edit, and after you've turned on the section cut, make sure to tick this box here, section cut, and save it. If you want to change the color, you can do that in section fill here. Then update and save it, and at this point, SketchUp's section cut line will automatically override this line. Applied the section cut mechanism and saved. Now go to layout and update. So that's how you deal with the issue of overlapping wall lines. For room names, I'll use the lifter tool in layout. Why use this tool instead of that one? This tool lets you add text, but it can't automatically retrieve information. What does automatically mean? What can it retrieve? Click on the wall, picks up its length, 3000 here. Then it gets the coordinates, 1.3 meters, this 3000. Click this corner. You'll get coordinates like this. Add text, like click here, and it appears. You can pre-type labels like vertex coordinate 1 or V1 and add the number. Leave these angle brackets as they are. That's how coordinates work. Walls give length, faces give area. Use this for naming rooms to get the area. Click this arrow to show the face and its area. Add the space's function name here, like yard, then start a new line. I'll center this to display the text, using it for the area part. It even retrieves object info. Select this chair or tree and drag it out. It shows the component name, like 2D Tree Blend 09. But how do I get the room name without this arrow? There's a little trick. You make it transparent. Select it, press enter to open the group, then select this line here. Click on the stroke section, then choose a transparent color for it. Adjust the transparency, select it and drag it down to 0%. Now it's transparent like this. After that, just move it to the desired position. If you find it hard to move while dragging, use the arrow keys, left, right, up, down. It will move more easily this way. Or if it keeps snapping to the grid, turn off these two snapping options. These two snapping options are in the arrange menu. If snapping's making it difficult, just turn them them off and moving things will be smoother. Or you can use Shift with the arrow keys, up, down, left, right, and each time it'll move 10 times further. Now I'll do it once and you can copy the steps. Select this, highlight it with B to make it look nice and bold like this, then continue. That's what I just finished doing earlier. But at the back you can still see this appearing. Press the B key, okay? Then it picks up the attributes. That means next the arrow will disappear as well. It automatically copies the attribute that makes that line transparent. Right, living room. Right, guest. Then I select this and apply it. I attach it carefully. B. To make it bold. Done. Now move this, oh dear, move this to the desired position, okay? Alright everyone, now that we've just set up the file, I'll show you the basic title block first so everyone can see it. After that, we'll move on to the dimensioning part, and that's it. When you open the file, for example, earlier when I opened the A3 landscape page, it brought up a blank sheet of paper, right? If you have a ready-made title block, we'll cover that in the next lesson. You can use the default title block provided. Selecting this A3 landscape, for instance, provides a pre-made block. Then I insert my own file into it. I'll quickly set this up so we can start dimensioning. Scale 1 to 25. Now we're ready to do the dimensioning. As for the titles, we'll adjust those later. This is how you do the dimensioning, everyone. To start the dimension command, press D, select the tool and add a dimension anywhere. The exact placement isn't important. After that, you start by adjusting this dimension as a template first. I want the unit to be millimeters. Select the dimension. I'll choose millimeters as the unit over here. I won't display the unit. So how do you hide the unit? Here, there's this 3mm button right here. Click this button to toggle the unit display on or off. Then, this dimension has 3 positions, at the top, in the middle and at the bottom. Also, if it's like this and you want to adjust it, you can press enter and the mouse will automatically suggest positions for you. Next, you can adjust the 2 arrowheads as you like. For example, I'll switch to the tick style, architectural tick like this, and over here adjust the tick like this. If I want the tick to be bigger, I'll set it to 1 point like this. If 1 point is still too small, then 2. I'll adjust the size to line weights 0.2, half strength. The dimensions how I want it. For the fonts, I'll choose Roboto Condensed. With the style set, I'll dimension again. If it still has the old properties, press B, pick up from this dimension, and the new one follows those settings. Click it. If you can't snap, drag it down and it shrinks. I just made a mistake dimensioning. Let me do the point again. Because I snapped to a chair, the number came out odd, you see. Now you can see here, dim layout has a drawback. My image is really blurry. You can't see anything clearly to snap to a point. At this point, you have to switch to hybrid mode, yeah? Hybrid or vector, so it becomes sharp and you can snap to points accurately. That's why 5D will solve this problem for you later, because dim layout is really a hassle. So you have to switch this raster part to hybrid. Only then will the lines be sharp enough for you to snap points accurately. This is a downside of working in layout because it's really hard to snap to the exact dimension point and you have to switch to hybrid. But when you switch to hybrid, it gets heavy. Later, when you learn 5D+, it will solve that problem for you later. Now let's continue. Snap here, drag up. Then for the next point, you double click, yeah? The next point is double click, like this, like this. For these ones of mine, they're curved, so I'll set it to no curve. I'll turn on the dimension part and select no leader, like this, so it goes back. Then I'll bring it here and it will automatically go back, yeah? Or you can press the B key to pick up these ones and paste them onto the existing ones, so they all have the same style. If you want to copy the properties from one object to another, just press the B key, then copy and paste, and that's it. Now we have a section called Scrapbook. As I mentioned, the Scrapbook is like a library, everyone. So now I'm going to create the drawing title and add the north direction and windrows. And for the section marks, the project section marks, I'll use the Scrapbook. Here, when you open the Scrapbook panel, you'll see a list like this. In here, you should select the scrapbook with the title TB, which stands for title block, which means the name frame. You can also choose TB Elegant, which is the style. There are several pages here. Click the arrow to switch pages. There are various symbols like axes and north direction. I'll click to add the north direction here. This is the north direction. Then there's the scale bar. For the scale, you'll need to adjust it to the correct ratio. Next, if you want to add building elevations here, click here and set the elevation to 0.0 here. On this side, there's the column grid. If you want to use the column grid, just drag it in here, then you can copy it for A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Next is the section mark. Place the section mark here like this. To adjust these positions, just drag them out. For example, move them out or stretch them longer like this. Then double-click here to edit the name, such as the section name or drawing name. There are also some other symbols to look at. There's a drawing list and there's a name here. I'll use the drawing name here. So in this name, there's this important information field here, which is a leader image, kind of like a living room. At this point, you just need to select this, press enter, select this, press enter again. There's a handle you can drag, move your mouse into it, and it will take the name of the scene you set up, like scene 1. Then for the scale, press enter, select this first line, drag it in here, and it will automatically set it to 1 to 75 for you. It does it automatically. If you want to change the font for these, select all of them at once, select these, and then change the font. The way to do it is to go to the text styles section and change the font to Roboto, which is the font I'm using. When you change it like that, everything you've selected will change font at the same time. That's how you present your drawing and layout, using the symbols from the scrapbook like that. Thank you for watching all the way through this relaxing section. Bye-bye.